Oh. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now if you're a regular here on my channel, you'll know that I have quite a few fails. Quite a few failed craft projects. Sometimes it happens, rarely it doesn't. So today I thought I would go back and hand select a few videos where I thought I could do a better job than what I did originally. I also know this has been requested quite a couple of times as well for me to go back on failed craft projects and try them again. And I just hope it goes well, I really do. Otherwise it'll be quite disappointing. Okay, so for the first craft project that I'm going to try and recreate and do better is my Christmas acrylic pour baubles that I think I did about 2 years ago. It wasn't last Christmas, but it was the Christmas before. And the reason in my mind this one failed is because I cheaped out on the art materials and I used PVA glue instead of a proper pouring medium. So they just looked really just shitty, really shitty. I think I tried to justify it and say that they looked arty, but I think they're quite arty, they're quite artistic, they're quite painterly, and again, they're subtle. But they didn't. They looked a mess. And I was like so disappointed with them because in my mind, they were gonna look so good. So for this brand new version, I took a hollowed bauble that comes in 2 parts and they're just made of plastic. And this time I actually used some pour paint for it instead of mixing the paint with PVA glue, which was just a massive mistake, and just dumped a variety of different coloured paints into one side of this plastic bauble and then closed it up and gave it a good swirl around. Unfortunately, I hadn't added enough pour paint into the bauble, so I just repeated exactly the same step again with some extra paint. And then I dumped out the excess paint and left that to dry. And because I was very confident that this was going to work and it wasn't going to be a fail, I decided to do 3 more baubles in exactly the same process. And here we have them, some acrylic pour baubles that have actually worked. It's been a success. So I'm pretty pleased with them, and this is exactly what I was trying to go for the last time I made them. This is basically exactly what I wanted. In fact, I think I've got one of the baubles hanging up in the studio. I do have one of them, they were just hiding all the way at the top. Yeah, so if you look at the comparison, you've got that one that it just doesn't look like anything, does it? It's just so transparent and boring. And then this one, completely colourful, lovely, and just bright. So much better. So this has definitely been a redemption. Okay, so for the next failed craft project that I wanted to try and improve on, it wasn't actually that long ago. It was from the Pisces craft video, which I did in February this year. So for this one, I tried to make a watery Pisces-inspired orchid plant pot. And my original idea was to use polymer clay and then bake it in the oven. But then I came to the realization that the orchid itself was made out of plastic, as well as the plant pot, and it would just melt in the oven. So that was never gonna work. So I ended up coming up with the idea of using tissue paper to try and get the same effect that was in my head. And unfortunately, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It's not what I wanted. However, Erica commented saying that I should have used air drying polymer clay instead, which is just a way better idea, and I'm so annoyed that I didn't think of it. What was going on in my head at the time, I could have easily used air drying clay. I don't know why I thought I had to use oven clay. So I went out and bought another artificial orchid, and I also had some air drying polymer clay, and I just attached the polymer clay around the plant pot to try and give us a wavy Pisces-ish inspired plant pot. I'm not entirely sure what I was going for actually, but this was the original idea I had in my head at the time. And once it was done, I just let the clay set. And this is it here, and I think it just looks so much better than the original one, the tissue paper one. I'm not entirely sure whether what I've done to the plant pot actually improved on what the plant pot looked like beforehand, but this is what I wanted. So thank you so much, Erica, for leaving that comment, but I'm still very disappointed in myself that I didn't think of it, because it's such a simple idea. Sometimes when you record videos, your brain it's just elsewhere. That's why I make so many stupid decisions. And if we compare it to the original plant pot I made, you can definitely see that there's way more of an improvement. There really is. Definitely an improvement. 100%. So I've got a second win. However, I think we can all thank Erica for this one. one. This had nothing to do with me. So thank you very much, Erica. We got a win. Okay, so moving on to a craft project that I would say has been my biggest fail I've ever done on the channel. It was just a disaster. And it comes from one of the episodes of the Blind Pinterest Challenge. So in this video, I tried to make a doily lampshade. And there were honestly just so many mistakes I made throughout this. Number one was I didn't buy a proper balloon for it. And I used one I already had in the studio. However, this balloon just wouldn't blow up. So instead I used expandable foam to try and inflate this balloon into a circle. In hindsight, awful idea. Absolutely terrible. I should have just abandoned it right there. Oh god, I'm stuck. Oh my god. But I persevered, and once I'd eventually got this balloon almost inflated, I attached some paper doilies to the surface of the balloon, just with a combination of PVA and water. And I was hoping for some reason that this would just all magically work and everything would go fine. And it didn't go well. And I'll insert that clip now. And you might be thinking, oh, and what are you worried about? It looks fine. Does it? Does it look fine? It doesn't look fine to me. So yeah, it was a mess. It was an absolute disaster. It was the first time in the history of the Blind Pinterest Challenge where I hadn't actually made something. I had to abandon the project. I couldn't do it. So will things be differently the second time round? Well, just wait and see. So for this revised doily lampshade, I already blew up my balloon and I secured it to a ball, and I used a completely different balloon this time so I could actually inflate it. And then I did exactly the same process again by sticking these paper doilies to the surface of this balloon with a mixture of PVA and water. And I thought it was looking pretty good. I was like, I have definitely won this one. I haven't failed it. This is it. I've really redeemed myself. I can't wait to pop the balloon and show everyone my paper doily lampshade. However, the balloon already popped. It already popped. So after I'd done it, I think about 3 hours once I'd left it to dry, I was sat over on the other side of my studio, I was working on the computer, and I heard this weird crunching sound, and I turned around and I saw this. This is what I saw. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried inside because I was just so devastated. I've made it. I've done worse. I've failed a fail. I failed harder this time. I wouldn't care if the balloon hadn't popped and it had just stayed the way it had done. I think this would have worked. But I don't know why the balloon popped, and I don't know what happened. And I don't know where I went wrong. I feel like I did everything right with this one. There was no mistakes at all, and it just still did this. It still didn't work. It still let us down. But if you have any advice on what I've done wrong, because I feel like I've done everything right, then let me know in the comments. But I will never, ever be attempting to make this again. This is the last straw. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. Just look at the state of it. It's still attached to the ball and everything. Just an absolute mess. So unfortunately, this was another fail. Okay, so for the next failed craft idea, I'm going all the way back to the Craftmas series that I did, I don't know how long ago it was a while. And it was a series where I did 25 consecutive uploads of different Christmas themed craft ideas. And for this one, for some reason, I decided to go for a water marbled Christmas vase because I was clearly running out of ideas. And they didn't look particularly great. They didn't look very festive. It just ended up being like really messy and just shitty, really. I think it's quite a shite idea, to be fair, but I'm gonna try and do it again and hopefully have some better luck with it. And also, if you ever come across any of my older videos, I would say for about the first year I was doing YouTube, I can only apologize by how boring and bland they are. I was still very uncomfortable in front of a camera and just found the whole process very, very weird. So my personality is definitely lacking for about the first year on my channel. So if you ever come across any of them, you've been warned that you'll be bored bored to death. But anyway, let's try some successful Christmas water marbling. Right, so I've got my plastic Tupperware with some water in it. And as you can see, it's actually the original Tupperware that I used for the original failed water marbling, because I don't like to throw things away. I also bought some nail varnish, and this is the cheapest nail varnish I could find. So I don't know whether it's going to be great for this, but I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on this idea because, like I said, I think this idea is awful. Okay, so I'm going to go for Christmassy, so I want some red, some gold, and I'll go for a green. Kinda don't want to ruin this vase because it's quite nice as it is. I do realise it's got a chip on it though. I bought it and then brought it home and then realised it's got a chunk out, so I might water marble that section. Empty these nail varnishes into the water. I don't feel like this is doing what it's supposed to do already. It's supposed to disperse. Okay, well there's a layer of gold. Try some red. The thing is with water marbling, it's just so unpredictable. Sometimes it'll work, and sometimes it just doesn't. Add a bit of green as well. I think my colour scheme's definitely correct. I can already tell just looking at it in the water, it hasn't gone the way it's supposed to go. Right, let's dunk this in and see what happens. I know what's gonna happen. I know it's gonna look a mess. I don't know why I'm even trying it for. Oh, ugh. Does that look good? Does it look good? It looks just such a mess. It looks horrible. And there's nothing Christmassy about it, is there? The thing is why this fails is because it's not a very good idea. I don't think I could possibly succeed with this or improve on a fail when the idea itself isn't very good. And I'm very disappointed that I even thought of this idea in the first place. I did buy a second jug because I was going to do another one, but I don't think I'm going to bother because I feel like I'm going to get the same situation with the second one, and I don't want to ruin anything else. But there we have it, another fail. And before we move on to the next failed craft projects, I just wanted to have a little chat about failing as a whole and why I fail on my channel. Because I know sometimes some people get frustrated with us, and rightly so, but I never fail intentionally on purpose to get a laugh or anything like that. When I first started doing YouTube, I told myself that I didn't want to be one of these typical people you see on YouTube or on social media where everything's kind of perfect and everything's lovely and roses and nothing goes wrong. I wanted everything I did on the channel and everything I do on the channel to be just completely honest and open, and if I f up, then I f up, and I show you that. And then also another reason why you probably see a lot more fails on my channel compared to possibly other people is because I don't do YouTube full time. It's not my full-time job. The money I make from YouTube barely even covers how much I spend on my channel each month. So when I fail something, usually I don't have the money nor the time to correct my mistakes and show you the right way to do things. So sometimes I just have to live with it. And I know this won't be my regular subscribers and stuff. Yous get it, yous understand. But for newer people, they sometimes get annoyed with us. But hopefully that explains it just a little bit, that this isn't my full-time job. I don't have an abundance of money. I don't have an abundance of time. And I also just don't want to be a little fake bitch on the internet that's telling you how perfect everything is, because it's not. And some people might even call me pessimistic, but I'm definitely not optimistic. But I would say that I'm more realistic. So that kind of good old saying where people see the glass as half full or people see the glass as half empty. In my eyes, I don't see the glass at all because the glass isn't there. You don't have a glass full of anything. So stop telling us that. I would much prefer everything to just go swimmingly well and go perfectly well and have a really nice craft project to show you. But just sometimes things go wrong, and that's fine. Things go wrong all the time. I think people are just so used to not seeing it and other creators hiding it and stuff like that, that they get a shock when they find someone who just embraces the screw-ups. But yeah, so I just wanted to have a little chat about it, just in case there's anyone wondering or anyone who gets frustrated. Hopefully that's cleared the air just a little bit. Okay, so for the next failed craft project, I thought I would go all the way back to episode 2 of the Blind Pinterest Challenge. And in this episode, I tried to recreate a glow-in-the-dark fairy jar. And for this, I just took a regular mason jar and added some glow-in-the-dark pigment with some PVA, mixed that, and then added dots to the jar. And in the end, they just didn't really glow in the dark. They looked absolutely nothing like the original. And I came to the conclusion that I thought the original fairy jars were photoshopped. Now, I still think the original fairy jars were photoshopped, but I think I can improve on what I did originally. So I feel like the reason they didn't glow in the dark properly last time was because I diluted the glow-in-the-dark pigment far too much with the PVA glue. So instead this time, I added some PVA glue dots, just neat, onto this mason jar, and then I sprinkled some glow-in-the-dark pigment on top of the PVA so it would get a way more concentrated glow-in-the-dark pigment attached to the surface of this mason jar. And then I put that to one side and let it dry. So I've got it here, and we'll take it downstairs and check it out in the bathroom. It's the only dark space I have, and we'll see if it glows in the dark. I think it's definitely going to be an improvement on the one that I originally made. However, I still don't think it's going to be the same as what they had in their original pin, because like I said, I think they photoshopped it. I think they were lying to us. But you never know, this might be amazing. Let's go find out. Okay, so it's kind of working a little bit. It definitely needs the UV torch. It's better than the last one. It's way better than the last one. So I think with their original pin, it might not have been photoshopped. They might have just done this really quickly and then taken the photograph, but it just dulls down over time. Like, look at that. It just basically disappears to nothing eventually. But it looks nice for a second. So, you know, I think I'd call that a win. Ooh, look at my t-shirt. How cool is that? I'm ready to go for a rave. I don't know whether you can see us, but I'm giving this one a thumbs up. I think I've succeeded on this one. Okay, and for the final failed craft project, I'm doing things a little bit differently because I'm not going to be making this one from scratch. Instead, I'm going to be trying to improve on what I made originally. So when I did the video where I made Jesmonite craft ideas, I made a stool, and unfortunately with the top, I ran out of time and I didn't get time to sand it. And plenty of people left a comment wanting me to sand it, especially Adriana, who said,
"Sand it down."
Alright Adriana, wind your neck in, I'm going to sand it down. Calm yourself down a little bit. So I'm going to do that first, and hopefully it'll reveal some more of the glass that was kind of missing and that I was hoping I was going to get. And then also I want to do an extra thing to it, which I'll get to after I've done that. So we're going to have to go outside because I'm not sanding it inside because I don't want loads of Jesmonite dust all over the place. Okay, I think the sun is just absolutely knocking the brightness of my camera out. You can't see anything. What the hell's going on with my camera? What is going on? This is why I just can't figure out technology. Oh, there we go. You can kind of see that there. That's what it looks like. If this all goes... Hang on, I'll put my... Oh, there. I'll put my hand there. That seems to do something. So it's got a little bit of detail. It's not shown properly on camera because it's really bright outside and my camera's just absolutely failing on us. But I'm hoping to get more of this glass to show through. So if I put my camera back on the tripod and you can't see anything, it's not my fault, it's the sun. Blame the sun. But I'll show you some close-ups later on once I'm done. Okay, so I'm back from sanding, and as you can see, a lot more of the glass is shown through now. I could have gone further with it, but I quite like the fact that you've got some bits of glass that you can really see, and then other bits of glass that are just like beneath the surface a little bit. But I think it's a massive improvement from what it was looking like before. But another issue I had with this stool was the fact that it seemed really out of proportion. So Daily Doodles commented this and said that I should cut the legs, and I didn't even think of that. How embarrassing, the fact that I didn't think, oh, I could just cut the legs shorter and that would probably fix the issue. So that's what I'm gonna do. It makes complete sense. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is the fact that if I'm sawing away at the legs, I am a little worried that they're gonna come out of the Jesmonite cast. But we'll see if that happens. The thing is, you know, when I said I was worried that the legs are gonna come out, this one already has. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to cut the legs shorter or not. I'll go for it. I'll try it. Why not? If they all come out, then I'll just put them back in. It slips in fine. It's okay. Do I measure? They're all the wrong measurements anyway, so it doesn't really matter if I measure or not. I think I'm just gonna guess. I don't feel very confident about what I'm doing. I'm gonna move on to the floor to do this. I don't think doing it on my table is the best option at all. Have I made that a bit too small? It's gonna be a tiny stool now. I've made it worse. I need to cut this one shorter. Oh, try again. It's still lopsided, and I don't want to keep chopping even more off, otherwise it's not going to be a stool anymore. It's just going to be a slab of Jesmonite. I'll cut a little bit more off this leg, just a tiny bit, just so it's less wonky. Okay, so this is my finished stool, and it's still not perfect. It's definitely a little bit wonky, but I do feel like it's better than what it looked like before. I think it is anyway. I don't know anymore. The top looks better, and it's a bit more in proportion, and that's what I was going for. So, I don't care what anyone says, I'm calling this a success. Okay, well that just about does it for today's video of me trying to recreate failed craft projects that I've done in the past. And I think it's been a mixed bag. Some have failed again, and some I've made better. Some I've definitely improved on. So that's nice because that was the intended goal for this video. I did actually end up cutting my thumb with the saw, so that was nice. But let me know what your thoughts are on my newly not failed craft projects. But anyway, if you did enjoy today's video and appreciated the effort that I put in, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next week for a brand new video.